I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, this never happened before. They always extend. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do.
The American people are waiting, and Democrats are ready. We want to have negotiations. It's been long enough.
We were hearing that there were some common sense centrist Democrats who were talking to Republicans, but what I understand is that Chuck Schumer has pulled them back from that.
I think that there is no reason to surrender now, every reason to stand firm.
Well, there may be a couple of reasons to surrender. One of them is air traffic delays and cancellations. If you look at the numbers right now, 5,107 delays, 149 cancellations. This is the FAA is slashing air traffic by 10% eventually, getting up there, ticking up. So let's start there. Let's bring in our panel. Former White House press secretary, Fox News contributor Ari Fleischer, Annie Linskey, White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and Jonathan Karl, author of the new book, Retribution, Donald Trump and the Campaign That Changed America. Jonathan, congratulations on the new book. Is your sense that we're getting closer or farther away from a settlement here?
I think we're getting closer. I mean, what I'm hearing is you have Democrats who are eager to move beyond this and are moving closer towards accepting what John Thune actually offered more than a month ago, the idea of they vote for an extension of government funding and they get a promise on these Obamacare subsidy extensions. It's not going to be everybody. You played Senator Blumenthal. He's not going to be there, but they only need 8 of them. It won't be 8. It'll be more than that. You can't have every single one of them be the determining vote. But my sense is that they're getting closer.
Annie, we thought the SNAP payments were going to do it. It seems like air traffic control and these delays and cancellations. Here is the Transportation Secretary and the Minority Leader.
Taking 10% of the flights out will reduce that pressure, which is what we want to do. Delays are a secondary issue. Safety is primary. And so this is not politics for us.
The administration has been going after the FAA since the beginning of their time in office, since January 20th. And we need to understand how we got to this moment, separate and apart from the Trump Republican shutdown.
Annie, how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Brett, President Trump understands leverage. We've seen that in many different topic areas. And the SNAP benefits were being used as leverage. The payment of the troops were being used by leverage by various individuals. And now the administration is showing that this is a way that Americans will feel some pain from this shutdown. And the White House, of course, is saying this is the fault of Democrats. But this is a way of pushing these negotiations in a new direction. I think a lot of people thought after the elections on Tuesday, Democrats would use that as an off-ramp. But in the last few days, it doesn't seem like they've been willing to take that. And I think what the president is doing here is saying, look, there is an impact to this shutdown. And as we're going into this holiday season and where travel tends to ramp up, this is something where people are going to start calling their congressperson and are going to start really wanting this to end and feeling that pain of it.
Yeah, Ari, it seems like it hurts both sides. I mean, you look at the polls, they're about even. Who's taking it on the chin more, depending on which poll you look at?
Well, and let's just stipulate, the government should always be open. This is a foolish way to go about doing business. And it was when Republicans shut it down, demanding that if they didn't get what they wanted, it would be shut down. And now the Democrats are copying that. They say, if we don't get what we want, we'll shut it down. The way it should work is if you don't pass your budgets on time, funding continues at the existing rate. No one should be able to shut down the government. This is just a terrible way to do business. We're making ourselves laughing stocks. And if there's no funding, no government, then of course you can't pay the people who are in positions. It's not as if the administration is trying to use this to get leverage. It's the reality of what happens when you don't pay people who have to show up for work. So this is a mess. I put it closer to Thanksgiving, Brett. I'm much less optimistic that something's going to come together quickly. The election results have given the Democrats reason to dig in their heels and fight some more. And I think they're all just about fight. That's the most meaningful word right now in Washington is fight.
Well, who's not fighting? A former House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, announcing that she is throwing in the towel, not running for re-election. Take a listen.
I want you, my fellow San Franciscans, to be the first to know. I will not be seeking re-election to Congress. With a grateful heart, I look forward to my final year of service as your proud representative.
Jonathan, in your new book, Retribution, you have a really kind of detailed story about Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and the last time they were together.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden really, and the Biden family really felt that Nancy Pelosi was the one that stuck the dagger in Biden's back quietly, and sometimes not so quietly, working to push him out of the race after that disastrous debate. I detailed a meeting, a secret meeting that happened in the White House residence. It was even secret to those that worked in Biden's West Wing, brought into a room, basically the yellow oval, kind of the living room for the Biden family, for the presidential family. And they met, and Pelosi was expressing the concerns the Democrats had that Biden was not only going to lose, but bring House Democrats down too. And it wasn't a particularly contentious meeting, but the fascinating thing, Brett, is that at the end of it, Pelosi, a devout Catholic, brought out her rosary coin and said, "Let's pray." And Biden had the exact same rosary coin in his pocket, also a devout Catholic. They prayed together. The meeting ended. That is the last time that those two titans of the modern Democratic Party spoke, was that prayer over their rosaries.
That's really interesting. A lot of detailed stories in your book. Annie, Nancy Pelosi obviously still carried a lot of weight in the Democratic caucus, evidenced by the House Minority Leader last night not being able to say, when she called the President of the United States a vile creature, that it was the wrong thing to say. Asked him a couple times, a couple different ways. You see that she carried a lot of gravitas and could even move votes even when she left the Speaker seat.
Yeah, she will go down as an iconic leader for Democrats. I think that she and perhaps Barack Obama are the two kind of main voices in the party that can cross multiple factions. And you think her ability to hold her caucus together is something that both Democrats and Republicans are actually quite jealous of.
She will not, Ari, be known about reaching across the aisle that much. I mean, she did do it in her career, but the picture of her ripping up the speech behind President Trump on the State of the Union is probably going to go down in history.
Yeah, I mean, she was as fierce a partisan as you get, and she helped Republicans win many races because they ran against the San Francisco liberal, Nancy Pelosi. So yes, she could crack the whip inside the Democratic caucus, and with a 5-vote majority that the Democrats once had, she was able to enforce party discipline and get the Democrats to pass things against all odds. Good for her for being that type of internal leader. But externally, Republicans loved having her around. But it is also a sign, Brett, of the older generation of Democrats that are increasingly being challenged now by a new, younger generation. In New York City, many of those older Democrats who've been there forever are getting challenged now by socialists. Mondami's win in New York is inspiring younger socialists to step up, run against Dan Goldman, for example, Richie Torres, for example, Democratic incumbents. That problem for older Democrats getting challenged by the socialist youth is a growing problem. Nancy Pelosi was being challenged in a primary. I think she would have likely won it, but I think that's one of the reasons she got out now at the age of 85.
All right, panel, thanks so much. Jonathan, congrats on the book again.
Thank you, Brett.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.